I am Antoinette Wells, and originally I come from Switzerland, but I have dual nationality, Swiss and British. And I feel very much part of these two countries. When I'm in the flow, I can paint for 5-6 hours non-stop, I mean with a drink of water or something. And I'm just completely thoughtless. And I think these are my best paintings, actually. And sometimes it's roses, because I absolutely love roses. So they come so spontaneous on the canvas. And I have kept some of these paintings that I painted in such a short time. I do photographs, sometimes with my phone, and then I print them. And then I just paint from that, yes, yeah.
Hi, my name is Nicholas Tobias. I'm from the UK. I currently live in Alton in Hampshire, but I grew up in London and I spent most of my life there before enjoying rural England and escaping from the busy city. I think I'm a bit of a perfectionist in general, and the thing about watercolor is it doesn't allow you to be. If you want to succeed, you have to surrender to the process because you are not fully in control. And that's something that's really fascinated me with it, is that you're at the mercy of what the water's doing. It's a moving canvas in a way, or moving paper. So you're working with a dynamic surface that is always changing, and you have to just allow it to do what it wants. You can guide it, but ultimately you do have to have that level of surrender. Yeah, it's unforgiving for sure. You put a mark down, and mostly it's the one that will remain there for the rest of the painting. But then again, you then just have to be a bit more courageous with your brushstrokes, allow it to move and flow, and then at the end just be content with how it's gone and enjoy the process rather than the finished article. And you do that enough times, you'll get to a good level, and you can produce some nice stuff with it. So yeah, patience for sure. Many ripped up paintings and a lot of frustration in the beginning when you envisage what you can paint and that you achieve nowhere near it. But that's just life. You're not gonna. That's a whole part of living and managing your own expectations of what can be. So yeah, it's something that I think with a little bit of patience and then courage, you can go and really enjoy it and explore the medium.
My name's Ben Morgan. I'm originally from England, but my mum's also Danish, so I've had a slightly different childhood from other people with Danish television shows and stuff, and then I now have 2 passports, so then I had access to go and be free still post-Brexit. I just randomly started doing collage for just a little thing, and it kind of grown from that. So yeah, it's definitely a different art style from what you mostly see. I'm just painting paper and cutting and sticking is the most basic thing. Children do it in like craft work. But then you also have Eric Carle, the great illustrator who did Very Hungry Caterpillar. So he's a big inspiration. He does tissue paper, so I'm a bit different with paper. But yeah, I really just, my work is quite similar to my grandfather's in the landscape, but with the illustration, I also dabble a bit in animation, and then I also, I actually kind of made a children's book, but I'm still in the process of it. It's an alphabet book, and also doing a Ukrainian version. And so I have lots of different I like to try lots of different stuff, and making a little bit of music here and a bit of that. But then the landscape work is just, I get to create my own little worlds. And sometimes they're from, actually, the ones from my imagination are probably a bit more simple, but I usually will take a building or something that's already there outside, and then bring that in. And I just remove things I don't really like. So I would add, you'll see that I like yellow fields. That's usually I'll put a nice big yellow field in, and I also quite like the spacing, so having your eye drawn to something. So you have the little village, or just the one house or villa, and then you have all this big open space.
My name is Prasad Bevan. I'm from England. I was born in London, and yeah, I grew up in London. I spent a lot of time abroad. I went to a boarding school in Rome when I was very young. And then I went to a boarding school in Dharamshala, India, and that was a very beautiful experience. It was in the foothills of the Himalayas. So yeah, that was a very important part of my life. I was really inspired by Indian classical music, Indian traditional classical music. And I enjoyed the music, but it was more the devotion and the divinity and the tapasya and that kind of level of dedication they had throughout their life for their instrument that inspired me a lot. And I remember feeling like that's what I wanted. I wanted that, and it didn't matter what it was. I just wanted that a way to spiritually ascend and spend all my time doing something that I loved in the pursuit of perfection. And that was more important than any end result. It was the process of the spiritual evolution that attracted me. I'm not actually interested in painting what I see. First of all, I don't think I'll ever be able to compete with what I see. It'll always beat me, so you'll always lose that battle. But what I found was it was always a good starting point for creating beauty. And when I say beauty, I mean beauty in the arrangement of shapes according to each other, light and dark shapes. And so that's what I was starting to pursue, the beauty of light and dark shapes and the arrangement and how you could create vibrations through that. Small shape, small dark shape, big light shape, vice versa. And so these opposites and playing with them was fascinating to me. And this was what I was able to relate to Chinese philosophy, the yin and the yang, the opposites. And this can be seen throughout art in every sense, in colors, you can see them either through warm or cool colors, in edges, hard or soft edges, in tones, dark or light, and in composition, shapes, big and small. And so these opposites were fascinating me, and I felt I was able to portray in their essential form, masculine and feminine principles. And in Western art, they fill a page with something. The sky is filled with clouds, the ground is filled with grass. So everywhere is something. And so this idea of emptiness, void, which is very present in Chinese traditional art, is lacking. And so I wanted to take this into the Western art, and because what isn't there is just as important as what is there. Like in music, the silence between notes is what gives power to the notes. There's a musician who said it's very easy to fill 2 minutes with notes non-stop. What's harder to do is to break them up and leave the silence in between, which actually gives emphasis to those notes. So that's something that touched me a lot and kind of seeped its way into my art.
My name is Colin Heinson. I'm from London. I was born in London, and I'm living in Hampstead in London now. So it's wonderful to discover classical artists, especially from the Italian Renaissance. People like Michelangelo, Raphael, Botticelli, and let them be your tutors. And that's the fundamental aspect of art education. Simply choose your favourite artists and let them learn from their technique and let that grow so you can develop your own technique and evolve and develop your work as you put pencil to paper and clarify what you want to express visually. The technique was very playful, so once the compositions were traced off onto the fresco panels, then I inked off the line imagery and then created a series of prints, black and white prints, which can be copied and are available to people. And that clearly expresses the 60 compositions, compositions which express the spirit of Mother Earth and the journey within the heart of a soul is the intention. So since that time, I've been busy. I discovered a technique where you use like gesso to create the ground. You finish the canvas, not the canvas, the wooden panel with gesso, and upon which you create the imagery, and then around the imagery created like a printing technique where I cut plastic sleeves, transparent plastic sleeves, to create different patterns using effectively chalk, stucco technique, using a builder's filler, which is probably not the best word to use, but effectively that's made out of chalk and it's got a strong binding medium, so when it goes off it's hard like a stone. And that can be, I sealed that further with shellac, which is like a varnish, which comes from a tree that grows in India. And that shellac creates strengthens the surface relief, so it makes it permanent. And then, so it can become a work like it has a feel of a fresco, was my feelings. But it's a portable fresco, it's not fixed to a wall. It's fixed to a wooden panel which is mobile and can be moved. So that's the area I've explored. It's like a new technique which I've never seen before.
So I'm Jamie West. I'm a sculptor, an artist, and I'm living in Southampton in England. So nowadays I tend to do more clay work. So it's sort of an air dry clay, and I find that I'm more carving into it than anything. And if you find if your head gets involved, it almost can get further away from you have maybe an initial idea, something comes to you like imagination, something comes into your attention that you should depict, and then you start working away with the piece. And if your head tries to get involved, it gets further away, almost to the point I was having to say earlier that we were, if your head suddenly goes, oh, it's ruined, I can't do it anymore, and then your thumb would pick up another bit of clay and just do some magical movement, and it would be completely restored, and you'd go, oh no, that's fine, and carry on. So it really was a complete message in that, to keep surrendering and allow yourself to be this instrument, if you like. So yeah, so mainly clay. I do a little bit of wood carving, but I do like the kind of a feeling of revealing from the material what's already there. It really feels like that's in the piece already, that just comes to me, so very lucky. Yes.
My name is Caroline Horn and I'm from Leamington Spa, and I'm an artist and a musician, and I've included some of my artwork here today. I've got a picture called Dipping Our Toes, which my partner's actually used on his CD, which is basically refreshing your feet in salt water, which is all part of Sahaja Yoga. So that was included. They asked me to include that in the exhibition, which I think is just, I was just really, really pleased to get a picture here. And I also painted another picture from when I went to Iceland. I actually was luckily enough, I saw the Northern Lights, so I wanted to paint them. So I painted the Northern Lights, and I actually used that for an album cover for my last album, Jackdaws. So yeah, and just in my art I include like silvery bits, gold bits. It's just a way of expressing myself through my art. Mainly it's watercolor, but with the Aurora painting I actually painted it on black background paper, because I knew it would give more contrast between the colours, and also when you go, if you go to the Northern Hemisphere, it's either light all the time or dark all the time. So you know, that's why I thought, no, this one would be really different. I've never painted on black paper before, so it was like pushing the boundaries a bit for me, really.